We are going to continue with chapter 14 of Wayside School is Falling Down. If you remember yesterday, we read chapter 13, which was when Dana, she hated stories because every time Mrs. Jules read a story, she would either start laughing or crying, and we discussed how that's a good thing because if you feel things when you are reading a story, that's what you're supposed to do, right? All right, so the next chapter is very silly. This is called Calvin's Big Decision. And look at, he's going to a tattoo parlor. Can you imagine? Kids can't get tattoos for real, right? This is all very silly, this book, but this is kind of a funny chapter. All right, Calvin's Big Decision. It was Calvin's birthday. His mother had made chocolate cupcakes with jelly beans on top. Mrs. Jules passed them out to the class. "Hey, Dana," said Leslie, "I'll trade you my black jelly bean for your red one." "Okay," said Dana. Everyone traded jelly beans. That was the most fun part of the party. Bibi was very excited. "Tell everybody but what you're getting for your birthday, Calvin," she said. "I don't know," Calvin mumbled as he stared at his yellow jelly bean. "He's getting the best present," said Bibi. "What are you getting, Calvin?" asked Mrs. Jules. Calvin frowned. "I don't know," he griped. I know what it is, but I don't know what it is." "Huh?" asked Jason. "See, I usually get toys," Calvin tried to explain, "but they always break or get lost or something happens to them. But this year I'm getting something I'll never lose. I'll have it for the rest of my life." "What is it?" asked Terrence. "A tattoo," said Calvin. "Ooh, how neat!" exclaimed Mauricia. Everyone thought it was a great present. "You're so lucky, Calvin," said Rondi. "I wish I could get a tattoo, too. Instead, I got a tutu." "I got a tutu, too," said Dana. "My parents won't let me get a tattoo," complained John. "My parents won't let me get one either," said Calvin. "Then, for my birthday, they said I could get one. But now I can't decide what to get. My dad's taking me to the tattoo parlor after school today. I just can't make up my mind." "Get a snake," said Stephen. "No, get an eagle," said Dee Dee. "They're the best." "A dead rat," suggested Kathy. "I just don't know," said Calvin. "I've never had to make such a tough decision. Nothing else I do matters very much. It's not like choosing jelly beans. If you pick the wrong color jelly bean, big deal. You can always spit it out. But once you get a tattoo, you can't change your mind. You can't erase tattoos. Whatever I get, I'll have for the rest of my life." Calvin shook his head. "I don't know. I just don't know." "What are you going to put on your tattoo?" asked Allison. Calvin threw up his hands. "I don't know." "You should put it on your arm," said Myron. "That's the best place for tattoos." "You're crazy, Myron," said Todd. "Put it on your chest, Calvin." "I know where you should put it," said Dana, "but I can't say it." She giggled like a maniac. Then she whispered in Jenny's ear, and Jenny giggled too. All day, everyone had lots of suggestions for Calvin. They told him what kind of tattoo he should get and where he should put it. A rainbow on his forehead, a flower on his cheek, an anchor on his arm. It was easy for the others to make suggestions. They wouldn't have to live with it for the rest of their lives. "I just don't know," Calvin repeated over and over again. Bibi drew a lot of pictures for him in case he wanted to choose one of those. She drew lions, tigers, buffaloes, and butterflies. "If you like one, I can draw it on your skin for you," said Bibi. "Then the tattoo man can trace over it." "I just don't know," muttered Calvin. "I just don't know." After school, Calvin's father picked him up and drove him to the tattoo parlor. The next day, when he walked into class, everyone stared at him. They couldn't see a tattoo. "Did you get one?" asked Mauricia. Calvin smiled. "Yup," he said. "Where is it?" asked Jason. Dana gasped. "I know where!" she exclaimed. She and Jenny giggled. "Well, what did you get?" asked Todd. "It was a real tough decision," said Calvin. "I almost got a leopard fighting a snake, but then my dad told me to think about it. He said it was sort of like getting a second nose. You may think you want another nose because that way, if one nose gets stuffed up, you can breathe through the other nose." But then he asked, "Calvin, do you really want two noses?" "Your father is very wise," said Mrs. Jules. Calvin nodded. "That made me think," he said. "I decided I didn't want a snake and a leopard fighting on my body for the rest of my life. I suddenly knew exactly what I wanted. He pulled up his left pant leg. There was a small tattoo just above his ankle. Everyone crowded around to look at it. I wonder what it is. What do you think it is? You're going to be surprised. So everyone crowded around to look at it. Potato! Exclaimed Leslie. That's stupid. That's the worst tattoo in the world, said Mac. They all thought it was a dumb tattoo. Anything is better than a potato, said Jason. It's a pretty potato, said BB, trying to be nice. I wish I could draw potatoes that good. But even BB thought it was a dumb tattoo. I like potatoes, said Calvin. Well, I would hope so, said Mrs. Jules. Calvin could tell Mrs. Jules didn't like the tattoo either. I would have gotten an eagle, said Dee Dee, soaring across the sky. Not me, said Terrence. I would have gotten a lion. I would have gotten a kangaroo, said Leslie. All day, everyone told Calvin what they would have gotten. A fire-breathing dragon, a lightning bolt, a creature from outer space. None of them said they would have gotten a potato. But Calvin knew better. He knew it was easy for his friends to say what they would have gotten because they really didn't have to choose. He was the only one who really knew what it was like to have to pick a tattoo. Even Mrs. Jules didn't know that. He looked at his potato. He smiled. It made him happy. He was sure he had made the right choice. At least he was pretty sure. So he chose a potato. And he was pretty happy with that. Okay? So what do you think the lesson of that chapter is? Maybe you should do things to make yourself happy, right? And don't worry about what everybody else wants or would have done. Okay? All right, boys and girls, that was chapter 13, or chapter 14, sorry. The next chapter is, oh my gosh, we might have to skip it. It's really scary. You know what it's called? She's back. Who do you think is back? Bye, guys.